It is Thursday, November the 27th, 2025, Thanksgiving Day. And this is the last little patch of Roselle that we are harvesting from this year's crop. Everything else has been harvested, processed, still in the process of processing, dehydrated, some still dehydrating. It's a big piece of work, folks. This one little last patch here, and you can see that it's already dry on the stem here. We've had a couple nights of frost a couple weeks ago, just briefly below 30 degrees. And we're slated for temperatures to go down towards 30 tonight and then below 30 tomorrow night. So we're getting the remainder of it out of here. And we work till late at night, shucking. We're plucking right now, which is what we call plucking. Pulling the fruits back against the fibrous stem, otherwise you wouldn't be able to pull it off. Start at the bottom and work towards the top, pulling them off. And we just pluck with a nice firm stroke as close to the base as possible. Kind of hard to show with a hand on the camera and a hand on the branch because it kind of takes two hands. But I'm plucking back towards the stem, back towards the ground. And starting at the bottom and working up at the top. So it'll take some little fibrous pieces off. Now, if you individually clip these off of the plant, well, it's okay for smaller crops, folks. But when you've got larger acreage of this, you have to move fast. It's not going to get harvested. So we're going to continue here. I just want to note that if you're growing this on your own and you can pick in about an hour and a half, let's say, pluck fruits and fill 2 5-gallon, sometimes I use the 6 and 7 gallon buckets, but you can pack these two in about an hour and a half, plucking at a nice pace. Then you've got enough to process for hours. You can sit back and shuck for quite a bit more time than that. I won't tell you the exact numbers, and it depends on the process. If we're dealing with a fresh green and red fruits that are just still full of moisture and fresh on the plant, then it's a different thing. When it's dry, it's a little more time consuming, especially if you're saving seed, because you have to inspect every single seed pod, open every pod, and or at least have a certain feel of whether the seeds are okay in that pot or not. If there's any rot, you have to open the pot off and the seeds will be okay. If there's a little decay, a little mildew on there, there's this special things that grow on it that aren't that harmless. But and then you got to chuck the other ones. You don't want to put the rotted seeds in with the seeds you're going to keep. So the further you get into the season, the more time consuming can be the processing on that. If you're retaining both the red edible part, the part, and this looks good. You don't see any mold on that one there. And then we got a special way to get the seeds out right away, right there while you're processing it. Otherwise, you chuck the whole seed pod and go dehydrate that more and then crush it all together, and you get down a bit, and then all the seeds can come through and knock through a mesh. And so there's different processes depending on what you're doing and the state of the crop, whether it's early in the season or a rush right before the first frost or a little remainder after the first frost and during that time, as we're doing right now. So it depends, but I'm just saying that 2-pack buckets is a bit of shucking, folks. That is a piece of labor. I won't tell you the exact number of hours, as I said, but we measure those kinds of things, and it's going to take longer than it takes to pluck. I can tell you that. You can count on, if you pluck 2 buckets in a day, packed full, and then go shuck them, you got a full day of work, folks. I mean, some people are going to push past that, and they're going to be able to process more, and they're going to be able to make more money and all that. But just make more progress, whatever you want to call it. But don't count on doing a hell of a lot more than that. But to be able to pluck 2 packed 5-gallon buckets within an hour and a half's time, let's say. I mean, hey, folks, you ain't doing that with blueberries or blackberries, right? You can get a lot more fruit in a shorter period of time from this, especially those big ones, the big fresh ones. These ones we see right here now, a little smaller and more dehydrated out here, but wow, we got fruits that fill your hand, each single one. So you can fill these buckets when they're fresh. You can fill several of these buckets in a relatively short period of time as compared to other fruits. And you're not stooping over like with strawberries. You're not on the ground. You're standing upright. These things are at your height. You could even sit down on a bucket and just bend the stem over and shuck them in an area, then sit up and stand up and go sit in another place. It's much more comfortable harvesting this than most crops. I mean, tree crops require reaching and ladders and other drama. So this is one of your most easy to harvest of the crops, of the fruiting crops. We call these calyxes, but they're fruits. You can call them fruits, right? I'm just throwing this in, but you've all seen our videos. The flowers that precede the fruit, that precede the calyx, those are very important for the harvest. And those are start right away in September here where we're growing. And you get several weeks, if not a month or two, of harvest of flowers before you go full bore with the fruits. It's kind of an overlapping workload. But the flowers are precious, and a lot of people don't recognize that. They don't understand that the flowers are just some of the best. Those are make the best jellies and drinks. The flavor of those, the pectins in those, they just turn to jelly. They're phenomenal. We save the flowers and then use them later to make your jellies. You can freeze the flowers. Anyways, there's a lot to it, folks. As I say, I'm closing in on the final parts of the growing area here, and it's just charging forward and getting more work done, and we'll have some statistics before long, some numbers, some data on the crop, how much we grew, how much seed we produced, how much fruit, how much yield per acre and such. So stay tuned.